Known as the home of ordnance, APG has been training Army Ordnance personnel since its inception. APG is the Army's oldest active proving ground, testing thousands of varied weapon systems and millions of munitions since firing its first gun on January 2nd, 1918.
Hi, I'm Bob Krause, Safety Specialist with the Installation Safety Office. Due to the varied weapon testing, both historically and current day, here at APG, many of our ranges, shorelines, and even some cantonment areas have the potential to contain UXO. Therefore, I ask you to carefully view this video, which will instruct you how to recognize, avoid, mark, and report any of these hazardous items. If you have any additional questions or concerns, please ask your supervisor, sponsor, or escort. Thank you for your attention to this very important and informative UXO hazard recognition video.
I'm Bob Maddox with 22nd Chemical Command, Technical Escort Unit. Our primary mission is to support the combatant commanders, federal and state agencies for chemical, biological, nuclear, radiological, and explosive support. Here at Aberdeen Proving Ground, we're responsible for the assessment, neutralization, and disposal of unexploded ordnance and improvised explosive devices. Four types of munitions primarily found at Aberdeen Proving Ground are dropped, which covers bombs and submunitions, projected munitions, including projectiles, rockets, and missiles, thrown munitions, which are grenades, and placed munitions, which are landmines. Large drop munitions usually have a tail section with fins, which directs the munition to a nose-down attitude to ensure proper functioning of the fusing. Drop munitions range in size from a small submunition or bomblet to very large bombs, as you see in front of the museum at Aberdeen Proving Ground. Projected munitions are items that are propelled by being fired from a gun, mortar tube, or launcher. They range in size from small caliber up to a 16-inch, weighing a few thousand pounds. These items are man-made, consisting of both ferrous and non-ferrous metals, which tend to rust out and blend into the ground over time. Typically, a projected munition will have more of a bullet-like shape to it. This makes it aerodynamic for greater range. In the case of rockets and missiles, it will actually have a tail section which may look like a large nozzle. It may appear to be blackened and burnt from firing. The munitions found here at Aberdeen Proving Ground may have any type of fusing fielded or tested by the Department of Defense since the early 1920s. One of the more common found fuses is the point detonating fuse. These operate by impact, although many have backup systems to ensure their operation. A fuse is the beginning of a chain reaction which causes the ordnance to function. Some are clockwork, radar, or powder train time. When fired, the fuse is armed by centrifugal force or setback and initiated by impact, time, or distance should it malfunction for any other known reason. Any movement or electromagnetic energy may restart the functioning process or cause instantaneous detonation. Placed munitions, such as the landmine, are items that someone normally has to physically put in the ground. Some may weigh as much as 150 pounds. The filler can be high explosive, chemical, or liquid smoke. Normally applied pressure to the top of the mine is what makes them function. There are also seismic, which are vibration, metallic, radar, passive infrared, and acoustic activated fusing systems. Mines are placed in the ground so that very little are exposed. You can be walking through an area and not even see them. Thrown munitions tend to be small, with the largest ones no more than a foot long. They're designed to be thrown 30 to 40 yards by one person. Most have a very heavy casing that's serrated in sections, so it will create lethal fragments upon detonation. When out on any impact area, I try to avoid all loose and mud areas because munitions tend to sink down into the mud and may not be visible. The casings of thrown munitions typically are heavy metal such as iron or steel. Aluminum has been used in some cases for items containing chemical agents or chemical fills. All tend to blend in with the ground or environment. As they age, the deterioration from weather and elements causes paint and body metals to fade and rust. Even the brightly painted test items will turn to an olive drab green as it weathers away and eventually to a rust color. Since some munitions here at APG date back to the early 1920s and 30s, many items are hardly identifiable. If you have to walk through a range area, always look down and assess your next step prior to taking it. Bulges on the ground, mound, or any areas with protruding metals should be avoided. If it doesn't look natural occurring, avoid the area. Walk around it. On APG, excavation permits are required to be obtained prior to any intrusive operation. These permits will identify the appropriate hazards and concerns for each area. Many years ago, all of the testing sites were not noted on maps or were lost in the process of upgrading map systems. Areas that were once impact ranges may now have other non-range missions. Yesterday's clearance procedures may not meet today's standards. And with each year's freeze and thaw cycle, buried items tend to work their way to the surface. Expanding missions at APG are utilizing new areas which result in excavations for buildings and the installation of associated utilities. Everyone needs to understand that each area at APG has a long history associated with it, and part of that history may include hazardous operations. Therefore, do not dig anywhere on APG without first acquiring an excavation permit. Missiles and projectiles may have lodged in trees when the trees were young and now may be many feet off the ground. The waters around APG are also suspect for UXO, especially on the shoreline. Every year, 20 to 30 items are found washed up on our shorelines. The force of the water can and will move items regardless of their size. Water can exert extreme forces, especially during storm surges. Should you encounter or find a suspect UXO, don't move any closer to it. And don't touch it. If you notice something that resembles a UXO, stop where you are. Take a minute to assess the path of approach to the item. That will always be the best way to exit. If possible, mark the area and obtain visual land features, whereas you'll be able to direct the response personnel back to the item. If you have a radio or a cellular phone, don't use it. Don't transmit. Some items may have electrical fuses and be sensitive to the radio phone transmissions, which are sometimes referred to as electromagnetic radiation. Move at least 300 feet from the item and report it. Remember the 3 R's. Recognize and mark the item. Remove yourself from the area and report it. How to report an item. In the Aberdeen range areas, there are 3 range control towers assigned specific areas. You should know which tower will be supporting the area before you enter. For A tower, call 410-278-2246 or 2256. If you're on a range radio, go to radio mode 1, channel 10. The call sign is 801. For B Tower, call 410-278-2250 or 3971. Range radio will be range mode 1, channel 11. Call sign is 800. For C Tower, call 410-278-3353 or 3626. Range radio will be mode 1, channel 12, call sign 829. In the Edgewood area, there's only one tower, Range Central. Telephone number 410-436-4471 or 4472. Range radio will be mode 1, channel 13, call sign 803. If you're not on a range and need to report a suspect item, call 911 from any government phone line. In the Aberdeen area, from a cellular phone, call 410-278-7220 or call 410-676-0960 in the Edgewood area.